All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Arvind. This is Dhruv right here. We both work on Omnigent. It's at Databricks. It's a multi-harness, and we're excited to share all about it. It's going to be a workshop kind of thing where we're going to demo some features of Omnigent. If you guys are curious and want to follow along, you can start downloading it at omnigent.ai and quick start and then install it. It should be pretty simple. If you guys have Claude Code or anything set up on your machines, we'll be starting to use that. But no pressure. You can also just follow along, listen to the demo, and you can also try it out after as well. So yeah, with that, let's get started. What is Omnigent? So, oh, there we go. You guys are all familiar with this screen. This is our lovely Claude Code. Everyone uses it every day in order to do all your tasks, do all your coding. It's an amazing harness. I think they come up with like crazy features that every week. It's impacted our industry a lot. But then Claude Code is not the only harness out there. Building harnesses are easy, and a lot of people have done it. Let's take a show of hands. Who has used Claude Code before? Awesome, awesome. Codex. There we go. Like Kiro. Have you guys tried that? Awesome. We got some nice ones. Pi, anyone? Nice, nice. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of harnesses out there, and everyone's using them. But the problem is, it's very hard to operate them and adopt into them. And we at Databricks saw this firsthand. We have over 3,000 engineers, all using different types of AI tools, and we found that it was very hard to make a unified ecosystem. Adopting agents is pretty easy, but operating them is not. And some problems we saw was, first, this space is very crowded. There are a lot of harnesses with a lot of models, and with that combination, there's like infinite possibilities. There's new ones coming out every week, and it's very hard to keep track of everything that's going on. This space is very fragmented. Each harness locks you into its own code. And switching harnesses means rewriting your custom agents you have, rewriting your skills, rewriting your tools, your policies, or any additional configuration that's specific to a harness. It's also very, very personal. All the agents and your memory lives on your laptop, and no one has access to it. And nobody else can see your sessions, steer your sessions, or even contribute to your sessions. And at an enterprise level, it is very hard to govern these agents. People can have policies set up on their local Claude Code machine, but if you want to have enterprise-level spend caps and have access rules to actually govern the tool used behind your agents, it becomes very hard. And finally, it's tethered. It's connected directly to your laptop, and once your laptop is closed, died, like out of battery, you can no longer work on it. And you are always walking around meeting rooms with like your laptop half open with your finger in the middle to make sure the Claude Code is still working. But these are just some problems, and there's a lot more. And that's why we have figured out that we need something to do three different things. We need to understand, how do I compose agents with a different harness to do the same task? We need to understand, how do I collaborate with agents across humans and other agents? And finally, how do I control all my agents for the cost and security? And we have faced this firsthand at Databricks. People used to send Claude MD files across like Slack messages to understand, oh, my agent did this. Can you add your agent and ask it to do something else? We would have private work trees set up where we were committing pseudocode so that like we could collaborate together and get some sessions. We would try, as soon as we started wanting to use Codex, we have to reconfigure all our MCP servers to make sure everything is online and like working with our internal systems. And that's when we realized what we need is we need a new layer, a new open layer above the harness level, and that's what we're calling a meta harness. And we have set out to build this meta harness, and we have built Omnigent. It's a meta harness for AI agents. Omnigent is a completely open source project that you can contribute right now. You can try it out, and it gives you an agentic development environment. You can use it on your desktop, mobile, any other platform you want. And it gives you the ability to go through and use any harness under the hood with your existing setup, and enhances your experience a lot. And to go through like some technicals of how Omnigent actually works, Dhruv here is going to walk you through some of our slides. Yeah, I'm just going to hand it over.
All right, thanks, Arvind. So that's the why behind Omnigent. Let me show you what Omnigent really is. The model here is deliberately quite simple. There are two halves to it. There's a server. That's where your sessions live. So all your session history, your policies, your MCP servers, skills, they all live in one place. Your custom agents are also stored here. And on the other hand, we have a runner. And this is where the agent is actually doing its work. So this could be your laptop, some sort of dev box, a Kubernetes pod, or some sort of cloud sandbox. And in between all of this, it's one common API, and every surface speaks it. So the terminal, the web UI, the native desktop app, all of them speak the same API. And because of this, because the server sits in the middle of all of this, a session is no longer trapped to one terminal on one machine. So you can close your laptop, and this agent keeps working. You can pick up the sessions back up from your phone. And this one architectural choice buys us a few things. Firstly, we get composition. Every harness plugs into the same layer, so you can combine agents across harnesses and models, or switch harnesses mid-project without rewriting anything. Secondly, you get collaboration. Sessions live on a server, so they're shareable. You can bring a teammate into a live session to watch, steer, or comment on the files and other artifacts that your agents are producing. And like Arvind mentioned, there's no more screenshotting your terminals and sending it in markdown formats. Thirdly, we also get control. So since the server sees the whole session, it sees every prompt, every tool call, every file that has been touched, that makes it possible for us to have genuinely smart policies for both security and cost, as well as a strong OS sandbox. Let me go a little deeper into each one of these. So out of the box, Omnigent can speak with over a dozen harnesses. These include Cloud Code, Codex, and I will not read out the whole list here. And three things matter here. First of all, there's no migration needed. Omnigent will pick up the setup that you already have on your machine. So if you already have your subscription setup, your MCP servers, your skills, those will already come along ready to go within Omnigent. Second is this orchestration across your harnesses. If Cloud Code has a capability tomorrow that Codex does not, you don't need to open a second terminal and copy your context into it. You can ask for it from the same session. Have one model implement the code and have another model review it. Thirdly, it's very extensible. We have a harness plugin SDK system which allows anyone to ship an integration without touching the core Omnigent package. For example, we had folks at Atlassian who built their own custom harness called Rovo, and they integrated it with Omnigent without having to touch Omnigent at all. And because different harnesses are really good at different things, this becomes really powerful. On top of harnesses, you can also define custom agents. So an agent is just a YAML file within Omnigent, which consists of a system prompt, a model, some tools that you might want to give it. And the fun part is you can also start adding other agents as tools. And these other agents can be built on different harnesses. My favorite, we ship a few examples in Omnigent, and my favorite is one called Poly, which we'll actually demo in a little bit. Poly is a multi-agent coding orchestrator, and it can fan out tasks across harnesses in parallel. So you can have Cloud Code, Codex, Cursor, and as many other harnesses as you want, implement and review all of your code in parallel. And so because agents are also plain YAML in Omnigent, they're very portable. You can share your agents with your team, or you can publish them across the whole server, and the same policies and sandboxing apply to all the custom agents. Next, we have control. Policies in most tools look at one action in isolation. Is this command allowed or not? Yes or no? In Omnigent, policies see the whole session. They can see the data that has come in, the action that's being requested, all of it together. And the enforcement is very granular, so you can have a policy either allow, deny, or ask for human approval. We ship a library of built-in policies, and policies are just defined in Python, so it's very easy for you to add your own policies. For example, we had a couple of folks at Red Hat who developed policies to identify when their agents were getting stuck in loops and stop those agents. And the same machinery that watches security also watches your cost. There's two main cost built-ins that I want to talk about today. First is budgets. Most of us have some sort of monthly or weekly budget for our AI usage. And in the middle of a session, you don't really have a good idea of how much money have I spent so far? How much money have I burned? So the budget policy gives you soft checkpoints. Say your limit is $100. At $20, it'll prompt you saying, hey, you spent $20. Do you want to keep going? And the part I like here is that this is not a hard limit, or you can configure it to not be a hard limit. You can have it to be a downgrade gate. If I have spent $20 on the frontier models, maybe I start downgrading to more cost-effective, cheaper, smaller, open source models. There's also per session version and a per user daily cap that you can enforce server-wide with policies. Secondly, we also have smart routing. I myself am completely guilty of picking the biggest model at the highest effort level for even the smallest task that I do. And we have a better option in Omnigent now. With auto option, we have a lightweight classifier that looks at the task and picks the harness and the model for you. So if it's a big design task, we can pick a frontier model. If it's a small fix or an easy question, we can pick something that's fast and cheap. Next, we have collaboration. This is a feature that I personally use the most within Omnigent. Any session can be shared, either in a read-only mode or a full edit mode. And someone can co-drive your sessions with you. And again, we'll demo this in just a little bit. So the pattern that we constantly see is very typical to how on-call runs. Someone spends an entire hour building up context with an agent about some problem, and then they hit a blocker where they need to pull in a teammate. And instead of copying in their history or their final Claude response into Slack, you can pull a teammate into the session with you and have them drive your session with all the context already in place. Moreover, you can also comment on all the artifacts that have been produced, so almost like a Google Doc editing style, but for agentic work. So you can comment on code, Markdown, HTML, and PDFs. And once these comments pile up, you can just press the address all button on the UI, and they're injected into a prompt that goes to your agent. So everything I've shown you so far runs wherever you want it to run. On the cloud side, Omnigent connects to a lot of sandbox providers through one interface. So we have support for Modal, Daytona, E2B, plain Kubernetes, and we also have a Databricks sandbox, which runs the agent inside your Databricks workspace. So cloud sandboxes are what give you this always-on story. You can kick off a session from your laptop. You can close the laptop. You can check in from your phone, from anywhere you are. And all these providers are plugins as well. So if you have some sort of DevBox setups that really works for you, you can build a plugin for it in Omnigent and bring that DevBox setups into Omnigent with little ease, with very little difficulty, and no need for PR reviews from any of us. And for defense in depth, we also have Omnibox, which is our built-in OS sandbox. So this contains the agent at an OS level, which is native to Linux, macOS, and Windows. We have credentials that get injected at a proxy, so your agents will never see your real credentials or raw secrets. This also applies within cloud sandboxes. So even when you're using a cloud sandbox like Daytona or Modal, you will already have an OS-level sandbox built in, so the blast radius is always small. So that's the idea. AI needs a layer above the harness. The harness ecosystem is going to keep producing great tools every month, and you shouldn't have to commit to one of them. Everything I've shown you so far is open source at omnigent.ai, and rather than keep telling you about this, I'm going to hand it back over to Arvind, who's going to show you the whole thing live.
Awesome. Let's see a demo. Yeah, feel free to follow along if you guys have it installed. But yeah, let's just go ahead. So for this demo, we'll be looking at this one amazing repo that Claude made in 30 minutes. It's called the note-taking app. Is it working? Yeah, it's called a note-taking app. It's a basic note-taking app that we have built, and we have some issues that we have filed. We have some stuff like, hey, let's add a dark mode. We have some stuff to put the important stuff on top. Okay, yeah. So we'll use Omnigent to tackle all these issues today, and I'll show you how Omnigent works. So let's go into our terminal. Let me zoom in. Okay, I'm assuming. Can you guys see that? Awesome. So before, you would run something like Claude. Oh, now you would just run something like OmniClaude. So you would just run OmniClaude. And what this does is, as Drew was telling us before, it's going to start a runner, which is our laptop, connect to the server that I've configured Omnigent to be, and it's going to start a Claude terminal. This is the usual Claude terminal that you guys are all familiar with. You can start talking to it, so it'd be like, say hi to the workshop. And this is your normal Omnigent. This is your normal Claude session. Nothing fancy. You can just get started with what's going on. But the one extra feature that we have is we have a URL right here. This is our Omnigent URL. When you click on this, it takes you into our Omnigent UI. I like the desktop app better, so I'm just going to open the desktop app, but you can also use from the web. So if we go into the, oops. I'm going to choose the server that we were on. So this is our server right here. So when you open Omnigent, you're greeted with a simple UI where you can start stuff. Here is your host picker. This is my laptop right now, and this could be, can you guys see this, or should I zoom in more? I think that's probably better. Yeah, so, sorry? How do I increase the font? Oh, I can go into my settings. Appearance, doing this live. Let me zoom out a bit, and then let me just go to like 35. 4. Oh, I guess it maxes at 20. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a little better, but we were maxing at 20. Yeah, so you can use your laptop or any sandbox right here. So my laptop is currently connected. I have some other hosts that I use, but currently it's my laptop. You can choose the folder. So this is currently my laptop's working directory. I've chosen the best note-taking app ever. We can have any work tree that we can configure. And here you can configure your current harness. So I can configure like Cloud Code, Open Code, Codex, Cursor, or any of the custom agents that Drew was talking about. So we have 2 built-in, Polly and Debbie. Polly is our multi-agent harness, which will allow you to orchestrate between multiple agents. And Debbie is like our debating agent, which will basically run the same prompt across multiple different harnesses, and you can compare and contrast what's a better one and choose ideally. And you can also do custom agents. So if you have like custom agents you defined that for a specific task, such as like give me the brief every day in the morning of all the PRs that have been going on, then you can define a simple YAML spec to do that, and then go ahead and use your custom agent. So now let's go back to the Claude session that I started, and that's going to show up right here on the left. So this is my Claude session where I asked you guys to say hello, and you can interact with the Claude session in 3 different ways. You can interact with it in our chat UI, our web terminal UI, and also your Claude session. So everything is synced. So if I go here and I type in hi, I'm now talking to my Claude session. So you can either interact it with like a web GUI, with your exact terminal, or with a terminal on the actual web UI. And everything is synced, and nothing has changed. And now you're basically using your existing Claude code, but in a much more nicer GUI, allowing you to look at all your sessions, have projects, organize them, making it much better. Now let's go into some of Omnigent's cool features that we talked about. So now if we go back into Omnigent, I'm going to show you our command called Omni Setup. So this is how you set up different harnesses. In my current demo, I've set up 4 harnesses for us. I've set up Claude, Codex, Cursor, and also Open Code. We support a dozen different harnesses that you can set up, and it's very easy to set up if it's already set up on your local computer. So remember the GitHub issues I talked about? So let's start working on those. So what I can do here is I can then go into Polly, and then I can choose, I'm using Claude SDK as my main agentic harness in Polly. And I'm going to tell it to look at all my GitHub issues, and then use Claude, Codex, Open Code, and Cursor subagents to solve all of them. And let's send it away. So that's all you do. Polly is now going to look at our GitHub issues. It knows exactly how to start all these sessions. It will monitor them for you, and it will make sure that everything is working. So while Polly is working, let's look at some other stuff. We'll come back to this as it takes a little bit of time. So this is another issue that I was looking at. This one, for example, was telling me how I should do dark mode. My agent has done some stuff, has done some files, and we have an embedded browser, so you can easily go into the browser. I think my agent said it's at localhost, so I'm just going to go to localhost. Yeah, so that's my best note-taking app ever. It has done some stuff here where it goes in and then says, oh, that's my dark mode and light mode. And with our embedded browser, you can also comment on it. So for example, I can take the tooltip and I can just be like, you know what, I don't like this. Let's change this to a toggle. And that's it. Our agent's now going to work. It knows exactly what we need to change, and it's going to work on it. And the other thing is, now I'm ready for some reviews. Let's see what happens. My friend Dhruv here made this app, and I want his opinion on it. So let's show sharing. So I can share my session with Dhruv. And I can give him edit access and also approve access, so he can actually go ahead and modify my session and look at my code if necessary. I'm just going to grant him this session. And now let's switch, and hopefully the demo gods are with us while I switch my laptop.
All right, this is my Omnigent, and I can come in here onto the UI, and I can click on the Shared With Me tab, and let's see if Arvind's session pops up here. It is. So here it is. Arvind, is this the right session you shared with me?
Yeah.
This is. Okay.
Yeah, you can see me on the session right there as well.
Oh, I see you're online. Cool. All right. So now I can go into, which all files have been changed. Let's say I want to go into this file, and I'm just going to start adding some arbitrary comments here. Like this code is slop. Please fix. I can add this comment. Arvind can also start adding comments here as well. And once we're all done, I can click address all. And this will send a message on my behalf to Arvind's agent, which is running live on his laptop. We can switch back to Arvind's session. Thank you.
Awesome. And just like that, I have Dhruv's comment right here on my own laptop. We're addressing some comments. There is no sending it across GitHub. There's no Slack messages involved. He's directly in my session. He can ask questions about how I implemented this specific feature, and we have comments and everything ready to go. So that's one cool feature about Omnigent. And then next, I would like to show you guys smart routing. This is basically Poly again. And here, instead of now saying Claude SDK, we will start saying auto. So this is our lightweight classifier, which is going to use the best model and best harness for you for a specific task. So if I start with a simple question, such as what is the capital of France, for example? This is a very simple task. It should not take a super big agent or a super big model in order to answer this specific question. So let's see what Poly whips up. Oh, I guess a little bit of a weird bug, but it has said that this is a simple task, and it chose GPT-5 Nano in order to do this task. So it's very simple. So it shows the right small size model for you, which is very light and very fast in order to do a simple task. Now, if we go into a more advanced task, for example, explain this complete code base and give me a diagram of how everything works. So now this is a much more complicated task which requires a lot of coding knowledge. The model needs to be a little bit more heavy duty. It needs to walk through our entire code. It probably needs to give us a more interesting ask. And it says that this is a complex task, and it has chosen Opus for this model. So this is our intelligent routing, and this is also a pluggable starting soon. So if you have your own smart routing providers or gateway providers that you want to integrate in, it's completely pluggable in open source. So you could just integrate your smart routing policies, and you would start using it. And then for the next feature, I would like to show policies. So let's start with a simple Claude Code agent. And then I'll make it a default Claude Code. And I'll start asking it stuff like, explain this repo. So it's going to go ahead and get fired up. And while it's starting, I realize maybe I should not spend too much money on this. So I'll add a policy. Oops. Yeah. So you can add different types of policies. You can add stuff like, let's limit the tool calls per session. Let's block specific skills. Let's enforce a sandbox. Let's deny PII. For this one, let me add a budget policy, so it's easy for us to control it. So I'm going to set a session cost budget. I'm going to set 10 cents. Hopefully that will hit pretty soon. So it's going to easily hit it. And I'm just going to click add. And now our policy is added. Let's see that it gets picked up. It should. I guess I added it a little too late. Let me ask it a follow-up question. There we go. So like the previous one was already a little too late. So now it says the policy came in, it's denied by the policy, it's now set a limit, and it's now hit the budget. And this is something that can be either session level that I've just set, or this could also be like server level. So you could define server level policies, so like saying like every session needs to be this specific budget, or you could just do it for a specific session. We can do either or. Now, let's go back to our poly session where we clicked off a couple of subagents, and let's see if it made any progress. So I think it's this one. Awesome, look at that. Poly has now successfully orchestrated between 5 different subagents. We got Codex, we got Claude, we got Cursor, we got OpenCode. So if we can, and it's like the main thing is Claude SDK, which is driving all the 5 harnesses. It's checking up on them, it's making sure they're all doing its work, and it's orchestrating it perfectly. So if we go through each of them, this is Codex. It's working on the edit notes PR, and you can look at the terminal. Now this is your Codex terminal. It's doing its thing. We have the Claude code running, and then this is the Claude code terminal. This is all on my laptop right now, and Poly is orchestrating everything perfectly. We have Cursor right here going as well. It's working on some live search issue. You can look at the Cursor UI. You can talk to the Cursor terminal. We also have OpenCode, which is running something about colors. Let's see what OpenCode is using. Oh, it's using Kimi. So it's using Kimi in open source with OpenRouter on her OpenCode harness. So that's 4 different harnesses that you're using all at once. And this is just one example how you can use multiple harnesses to do your work. And it just grows from here. You could get one of the harnesses to code your work and one of the harnesses to review your work. You could use a simple lightweight harness that's fast for small agents and small tasks, and a big heavy agent with a heavy harness for like complex tasks. So those are just some of the features. I'll go through 3 more features, and then we'll go back to the thing. Another cool thing is basically our automations panel. This allows you to run scheduled tasks on Omnigent on any of your hosts or any of your sandboxes as well. It's pretty simple. You come up, you just give us like a prompt, you give us a frequency of when you want to run this. You say either like the host that's online at that time, or you can just pick a specific host and you can go ahead and run this. This has been very useful for us. Some of the stuff we've done is a PR sweep where we go and review all the PRs every morning and add some comments, a news digest of like what happened in the company every morning or every week so that we understand what's going on. So yeah, automations have been super, super helpful for us. And then I'll go into, what am I missing? What am I missing? Smart policies, sharing. Okay, I guess I'll do one last thing, which is our sandboxes. For sandboxes, I'll use a different server because they're not configured here. They're configured on our Databricks server, so I'm just going to quickly switch over. Oh, I guess it's not here. And this here is Databricks Sandbox. So this is a very simple, lightweight sandbox that we have configured at Databricks. Sorry? Oh. And here it takes a GitHub repository, so we can pass it like a, where was it? This is a GitHub repository for Databricks apps that I've configured for this workspace. So I can just pass it in. It's configured with GitHub credentials, and I can go ahead and just say like, explain this repo. And then now, one cool thing is this is completely on the sandbox. So this is not on my laptop. We're provisioning a host, we're provisioning a sandbox, and we go ahead and work with it. So now I can close my laptop, go on my phone, and start chatting with this exact same agent. Yeah. I think that covers most of it. Those are our cool features. We really hope that you guys try it out, but I'll pass it back to Drew for our final couple slides.
Yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit about how the community response has been so far. Here are a few messages that we've gotten on our channels, on both our community Discord as well as our internal Slack channel within Databricks. And it's really been changing the way that a lot of people internally and externally have been working. We've had people in the community starting to use Omnigent in ways that we had not even thought of, and entire teams that are now sharing sessions with each other in order to get feedback from the whole team. And these aren't just a few nice messages. The numbers are also backing this up. So this is about week 7 since we've open sourced the project. We're at about 8,000 stars. 3,000 PRs have been merged since opening. And we have over 360 members of the community who have merged a PR in this repo. And this is just the beginning. And this is the part that we care a lot about, is that we are completely open source. And this isn't just like a marketing checkpoint where we're just open source just to say that we are. All of our roadmap discussions, PR reviews, design docs are all available on GitHub openly. And if you have a big idea, a big PR, something that you want to get merged into this code base, we are very happy to work with you on our Discord, hop on a call with you, and figure out how we can get this merged in. We have dozens of community PRs that get merged every single day without any process except for just our PR review process. And our Discord is at discord.gg/omnigent, and the QR code will take you to our website. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think now we're going to start a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, there's a microphone right in the middle of the auditorium here. Feel free to either walk up or Jules can help pass the mic around. Also, if you had a chance to try Omnigent, feel free to tell us, what worked, what didn't work. We'll also be at our booth after this if you have any more questions.
Hello. Was wondering the policies. Is there a way to have it enforced, like for the company, so that it basically gets rid of the issue of people doing stuff without you knowing it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we support server-wide policies that an admin can configure. So when you're setting up your server for your company or for your team, you can enforce server-wide policies that get applied to every single user and every single session. Sorry? Yes. If you are using the same server, those policies will get enforced on any host that you use.
Hey, thank you. I really like the tool. I checked it out. I'm wondering how y'all are approaching self-improvement for this tool, and especially when it comes to optimizing the harnesses, right? Because there's certain configurations with each harness, which may or may not work for certain developer workflows and work. And I'm wondering how y'all are gonna do that, because I'm interested in that kind of work as well.
Yeah. So the way that we're approaching harness improvements and extensibility, we're trying to learn a lot from Pi. We believe that they did it in a really beautiful way. We're trying to make it so that Omnigent is very extensible. So everything that we're doing with our harnesses, our sandboxes, our smart routing, it should be very easy for you to come in with your own plugins and build on top of Omnigent. I wouldn't claim that we're quite at the Pi level of extensibility just yet, but that is sort of the gold star that we're striving towards.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Hi, that was a great demo, by the way. I have a couple questions. First, what's the scale of adoption at Databricks? What's the order of magnitude when it comes to number of agents or sessions?
Yeah, everyone at Databricks is using it. So we currently have over 3,000 engineers at Databricks that we're going to roll out widely to. Everyone uses it every day. In terms of numbers, I think we're at thousands of sessions per day. It's actually pretty crazy because as soon as it goes down, sometimes people are pinging us faster than PagerDuty is pinging us. It's 2 minutes in, there's just my Omnigent's down, so everyone's super, super sticky onto it.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Also, architecturally, so do you run these harnesses in a sandbox, on one of these cloud sandboxes? And what do you think about the brains-hands separation architecture that cloud agents were talking about in their blog post? I'm not sure if you have heard of it. So I think some companies run their LLM loop in a server and run all of the terminal commands in a separate sandbox. But I'm assuming you're running the harness in the same sandbox where the commands are being executed as well.
Yeah. So it's we run the agents on the same sandbox, or same host. But we have the Omnibox, which basically surrounds the agent with OS level protections, so it's not doing anything that it's not supposed to. And we also have basically our server, when you have any policies or anything implemented, it's a tool hook on every single harness. So sometimes before the harness runs, we run your policies to make sure that it's abiding to the policies that's been set on the session before you run the actual harness. But the actual harness is running on your laptop. We're not doing harness level optimizations just yet.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, a great talk. My question is, when you showed the example of Codex and Claude running in the background, maybe you go over the weekend, you do something else, come back on Monday. What happens to the context? It should eventually go down to zero. Does it clear automatically? Does it compact automatically? How you're dealing with this?
Yeah, sure, go for it. So the way we're doing compaction is just natively on each harness. So a Claude session will compact with Claude's compaction algorithm. A Codex session will use Codex's compaction algorithm. So when we showed you the demo with the multiple harnesses, our top level harness that we had selected was still Claude. So Claude was orchestrating the other 5 harnesses in our case, which means that our top level agent will also be compacting using Claude's compaction.
Okay, so you said you use Claude to orchestrate the compaction. That's what you said.
In this example, yeah.
In this example, do you have settings? Are you able to set that, or it's just Claude is deciding when is the right time to compact?
Yeah. So in this example, right, I believe the way Claude is compacting is just when it hits some threshold of percentage, they auto compact. And because in our demo we used Poly, which is Poly is based on Claude, it'll compact in that same logic. But you can switch out the main harness of Poly to be Codex, which I believe compacts a lot more frequently than Claude.
Okay, I mean, and one last question. I mean, there's still an issue upon compacting. I mean, if you keep compacting, even like 3-4 times, you can start getting rot in your context.
Right.
You start getting garbage. I mean, are you guys always compacting, or do you clear context, will start again from resume MDO? Like,
the thing is, we let the harnesses do that themselves. So you can use all the harnesses as you normally would, clear sessions as you normally would, and the Omnigent just sits on top of all of that. So we don't really have our own compaction, our own clearing logic, because we let the underlying harnesses do it how they normally would.
Yeah. And also, our server stores conversations. So if your agent dies and you want to restart it, we rehydrate it from our database where we hold all the conversations. So when you said you come back 2 days later and you restart a session, we'll hydrate whatever Claude session right there with all the information that's already been sent, and then we'll go for it. But the compaction itself happens at the harness level.
I mean, I don't want to take too much, but
no, it's
I mean,
okay.
there's like one quick risk, which is there's code being developed and being written. Whether you compact 1 million times or like few times, you might not be able to tell if the code that was produced has some issues. And maybe we can talk on the side, but
Sure,
basically
sure.
that's what's worrying me is like how you make sure that this will not happen and it's not really controlled by a harness.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have lots of confidence with that harness. That's the main question.
Okay, we can talk after.
Okay.
We can talk on the side. Yeah.
Great talk, first of all. So I had a question about the data boundaries, basically data privacy boundaries. So if I understood it correctly, when I set it up on my local, the harnesses are going to be on my local. So, but the common models are like in many enterprise settings, open weight models are generally not basically used, right? We are using the OpenAI models than the Claude models. So in this case, what you are saying, if I understand it correctly, is that the harness is in your local, but then there is a common server side which multiple team members are collaborating on and using, and the model calls are being made from that server side. Is that correct?
No. The model calls, everything is happening on your local laptop. Like when Dhruv sent that message, it's still running Claude on my specific laptop. You can think of a server as like a thing that just talks, that orchestrates different hosts together. The actual inference and everything is happening on your laptop. So when I showed you the Omni setup, that's when I'm configuring the credentials. So the server does not make any LLM calls. So it's all your laptop.
But when Dhruv drops a comment on Arvind's basically work, is this because you both are on the same network, or like how is
That's where the server comes into play. The server knows how to talk to my laptop. So both laptops send the message to the server talks to our laptop.
But I wanted to understand what infrastructure is that server set up on. Is it on like my proprietary infrastructure, or is it some open source?
It depends on how you want to set it up. So it could be any like multi-tenant architecture, and we just open a WebSocket connection from the laptop to the server, and the server knows exactly which pod it is in and which pod to talk to the laptop. So any request that comes into that pod will dial your laptop.
Got it. And one smaller question to this, which I'm almost sure the answer will be what I'm thinking, but you have these policies which you said, right? So if I want to restrict to certain models, I can use any harness, but the policy can restrict that. Even if it is the harness for, let's say, Kimi models, it still has to go to like an OpenAI model, or it still has to go to only Claude model. I can set it up that way, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much.
No worries.
My question is, I've seen your Poly agent, that's super cool, and I would like to create my own agent. And how do I do that on Omnigent? And maybe my agent is a little bit more complicated, it's more than one. I'll say, this agent call the other one, I have some deterministic logic in it. How do I do this?
Yeah, so custom agents are defined in YAML, like I showed in a slide earlier. I can just go back to that slide. So this YAML file is basically what Poly looks like as well. And you can do the same thing with any custom agent of your own. And if you want, some deterministic workflows around it, you can build in tools like you would with any other agent and use those for your deterministic workflows. Also, we have, sorry, not to cut you off, we have a REST API for Omnigent. So you can use our REST API within your deterministic workflows as well.
Can you speak of how is this YAML file getting converted to like actual harness that's being run on Cloud Code and Codex runners in the back end?
I will save that for discussion at our booth.
Thank you.
And then you can also check out our code. It's completely open source, so it's all, yeah.